Hello everybody, it's YOUR Art here, back with another video, and in this video, I'm going to be critiquing your guys' artwork. That's right, so I am back here in my bear group, as you can see. If you don't know what my bear group is, it's just a little Discord community I have with some of my fans, and we basically just share art and stuff and talk about video games and stuff. But basically, I decided to collect a bunch of artwork from you guys, so that way I could critique it. Everybody who submitted artwork here, this was voluntary, so these are people who are actually asking to, you know, have criticism. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm not giving this unsolicited, you know, people actually asked for critique. So we're going to go ahead and start with Aria. And as you can see here, she drew like a little, I'm assuming this is a Roblox character because there's a lot of different items on here. If I go ahead and circle here, you can see she's got like a little cat hat. There's some kind of like headband thing. She's got wings going on, just a bunch of different accessories. And I just want to say I love it when somebody draws in a bunch of accessories on a character. I'm somebody who loves a lot of detail, a lot of things to look at. I feel like sometimes people draw stuff and it's too simplistic, and there's nothing wrong if you like simplistic art, but personally I like stuff that has like a lot going on. Maybe it's just me, but I want to say I love how you did the lips. These look so glossy and so cute. And I honestly kind of like the style of like how you drew the rose. I don't really have a whole lot of critique here because most of the stuff I see is more of just like a stylization. Like obviously roses don't look exactly like that. Petals aren't like a perfect circle. They're more of like, you know, they got some weird stuff going on. It looks like a little, I don't even know, what kind of shape would you call that? It's like, you could do a bunch of different shapes on the rose if you really wanted to and try to make it look more realistic. But it's not really necessary because I feel like it fits the style. What would I personally change about the artwork? That's what I'm going to say. What would I personally change about the artwork? I'm not sure if it was purposeful, but the eyes aren't really the same size here. You could probably have added some shading into the inner parts of the ear. You probably could have gone a little bit darker with the shadows if you really wanted to. Again, that one's more of a stylistic choice. Some people don't really like a lot of dark shadows. Trying to figure out where the light is coming from and where the shadows are coming from on this artwork, and I'm kind of having a little bit of trouble figuring that out. So if we were to look at this artwork up close, you can see that from the eyes, it looks like the light is coming from this direction because you have the highlight right there. So as you can see, imagine the light coming this way, there's your little light. That would make me assume that all of the light is coming from like somewhere over here. If we got like a little cone shape going on, all the light would be casted like at this direction kind of, but that doesn't really make sense because then we have some, you know, the shadows are kind of all over the place. So if the light's actually hitting right here, this wouldn't be as dark, I guess. Again, it's, if you're really trying to improve your artwork here, that's what I'm trying to talk about. So I would have gone a little bit darker with the shadows, and I would have tried and focused on finding a light source and finding what areas the shadows are going into. I would recommend watching some videos on values and lights and maybe some color theory a little bit, just because it works in to like the whole lighting and everything. I'm not saying the colors you picked on this drawing are bad. It's just if you were to watch some color theory videos and stuff, it'll give you a better idea of shadows and things. What I would mainly focus on is just figuring out light sources. So like right here, you probably could have added some shadows around the underneath part of this wing, right? And that's all I really have to say about this. I mean, obviously some anatomy, you got some little bit of problems here with the hands, but nobody likes drawing hands, so let's give the girl a fair shot here. But like almost all younger artists struggle with anatomy, and especially hands. Nobody likes drawing hands. I don't even like drawing hands, and I've been drawing for years. So I really wanted to give critique on this artist, and I wanted to give them credit for their artwork, but the problem is this is their name, and they don't really have a signature on the drawing. So I'm gonna do with what I can, and this person's name, I'm just gonna say it, is // okay? Their name is // but yeah, let's get into their critique. They, first of all, I wanted to say, they apparently commented, sorry for the bad quality. They started drawing only about 4 months ago, which is insane. I just want to ask the audience, what is the first thing you notice about this? Okay, I want to say it's a good drawing, especially for somebody who's only been drawing for 4 months. What's the first thing you notice about this? You have all of this white space and then a little tiny character. So first of all, I've said this about some other artists in the past. The first thing I would work on for this particular artist, if you're listening to this, is cropping. I would have like cropped it down so that this is all that's visible, right? So if we zoomed in to like that, this looks so much better, right, guys? You know what I'm saying here? So I would have cropped down the image a little bit, but let's focus on the actual drawing. So if we're talking aesthetics, because, you know, everybody has a different style and stuff, I like this. It's a little messy, but I feel like maybe that's the style they were going for. But it's kind of hard to tell what it is because it's so messy. It's really hard to judge what you need to work on because this is a slightly messier, smaller drawing. Like, there's not really a whole lot to critique on, personally. I would first go ahead, other than the cropping, I would also be adding your signature around here somewhere so people aren't stealing your art. That's a good thing to know. I know you're a beginner artist, but make sure you're putting your signature on all of your works. Not much I can tell you other than to just keep creating artwork, you know. You're going to learn anatomy and stuff as you go on. Don't let anybody discourage you. Art takes a really, really, really long time. It takes years before you really start to see any improvement. I can't even really judge your anatomy because it's hard to tell with, you know, such a small drawing, and like she doesn't really have any body parts here. It's just a head. All right, this next drawing is going to have a little bit of gore. Personally, I don't think it's that bad. Just wanted to give a heads up before I moved on. So this is Honey Ghost, one of the active members in my bear group. I'm pretty sure they're a moderator, but it's hard for me to keep track, guys. So let's go ahead and go over the first drawing, and then we'll go over the second and third, and I think, okay, they only have 3 drawings. Let's go ahead and get into the first one. Now, I have critiqued Honey Ghost before. First of all, I just want to say it's absolutely amazing. You have all of this background going on. So many artists don't take the time to do a background. I know 90% of the time I don't take the time to do a background. So first of all, good job. This particular artwork's a little messy, so again, it's kind of hard to critique. I do want to say I love the cropping on this as well. You have like a good composition going. I would work on your colors a little bit in this one. I feel like the deep red hue here is just a little bit too contrasting for like the bluish green background. That's, again, might be a bit more of a personal preference, but I just feel like you could have used a slightly different red to represent the gore. Maybe add a bit more detail to the face, maybe a bit more contrast to it, and made it more pop off the background, because you can see really here you have a lot of these deep saturated colors, and then this one's a little bit more desaturated, but it's almost the same value. So if I take the original drawing here and I like literally take away all of the saturation, you can kind of see what I mean, where it's all kind of blending together. Don't be afraid to go really bright, and don't be afraid to go really dark. So I figured I could give like a little basic overview of how I would actually improve this without like redrawing the whole thing. So as you can see here, you have the character with the swamp and the lily pads, right? So the problem with this, as I kind of said before, is just like the values on this. They all kind of blend together. It's, you know, kind of very hard to read. So what I would do is I would think about the basic composition of the drawing. What is the most important part? And that's the part we want to highlight, right? Or that's the part we want to make really dark. So here we have the character, and then I feel like the second most important part is probably like the blood and then the water, and like the third most important part is all the lily pads, right? They're kind of like, you know, they're not crucial part of the drawing. This drawing isn't all about the lily pad. It's about the character, right? So we're going to use light and shadow to make the character the focus. That is the goal. So as you can see here, I did a very minimalistic version of the drawing, but focusing on the character. So we can imagine that this gigantic shadow here is the character, and then it turns into the water, and then it turns into the lily pads. So even though we have like very basic shapes here, we can still understand it's literally the same drawing, right? So even though, you know, we don't have all the details, we can still see that this is the essence of the drawing, right? This is what the goal was. So we know that the character is the main focus. That should be the darkest part. Then it should go into the lake. And then lastly, the lily pad should probably be the lightest part. So just to make this a little bit more detailed, here's a more refined version of the original drawing. You can see the difference here. Here's like the first original value map I made. But then I actually went over the original drawing and created a value map. So based on this drawing, right? Based on this drawing here, here's how I would change the shadows. Here's how I would change the color value. And then, if you want to get even more detailed, you can see how how you can get even more detailed with the shadows, but not going too bright on the face, right? We're trying to keep the character itself in a darker value of color and keeping the outer parts light. So we know the eyes are automatically going to be drawn to the very darkest part of the drawing because it's in the very center. Now that I have that one out of the way, I'm going to just quickly go over the other ones because I think the other ones actually turned out a little bit better. I feel like Honey Ghost style is a little bit sketchy, so I don't want to say anything wrong about it because I feel like it's just the style, but when it's a little bit sketchier, it is harder for me to critique it. I feel like maybe, because you can kind of see, like, they got a gradient going on, so, like, the focus is brought to the face, and I really like that with the background. I feel like I would have added the gradient over top of the ghosts as well, so, like, these would have been, like, a lot darker, and then these would have been a lot lighter, just, like, the ghosts towards the center, and I feel like that might have brought a little bit more attention to the face is all. I specifically love this one because I love the cropping on it, first of all. I just love the cropping. I love the value difference in the background versus the actual characters. This one, like, shows a lot stronger of, like, skill in that matter, I guess, experience in that. I just overall love this one. I think this one's my favorite drawing out of the three. Something about the perspective on this just feels a little bit off. I feel like the focus was probably on the pumpkin patch, so, like, that's fine. I just feel like the mountains are just, maybe the size is just a little off. I can't really quite tell. I'm not the best at backgrounds. I'm going to tell you guys that right off the bat here, so I can't give the best critique on it. I feel like maybe the mountains are just a little bit too big. I feel like I would have made them a little bit smaller and a little bit, like, less obvious, I guess. I also probably would have made them just like 1 or 2 shades a little bit lighter in value just compared to the grass is all. And here we are moving on to slash again, and I have no idea what to say about this. This is very abstract art, and it's hard for me to critique something like that because this is not something I'm very experienced with myself. I think it's very interesting. I don't know if this is vent art or if it's literally just there's no meaning behind it, or if there is a meaning behind it. I wouldn't be able to tell, and I'm probably not the person to ask. I don't even know why Jazzy Mind bothers sending me her artworks, because 99% of the time they're better than mine, and I'm probably not the person to judge these, because, like, guys, do you see this? Like, they're amazing, like, seriously. But let's go ahead and judge these. First of all, I'm pretty sure this is Miku. I don't know too much about Miku other than it's like a Vocaloid anime character, I think, and yeah, that's basically all I know about it. I just feel like the anatomy is just a little bit off, like the chesticle part, perhaps. I would just focus on anatomy, really. I feel like that's the main thing that's going to get you better. I feel like you've reached a level of art where your biggest problem and then the biggest thing you're going to struggle with is just anatomy. So, I mean, I would study everything. I would study anime anatomy mainly, though, because that's what you're focusing on. It seems like that's your passion, probably. So, I would just, like, really hone in on, like, just body parts, man. Like, honestly, just, like, hone in on that because you have a very good grasp on color and stuff. You might be able to go a little bit darker. I think I said this with your last one. I don't really know. You might be able to go a little bit darker on some areas and, like, your shadows and shading and the stuff. But, again, that's more of a personal preference at this point. I feel like this is probably part of your style. So, honestly, what I would do different is just work on your anatomy. I mean, there's not much better you can get than this at this point as a young artist. I can't tell what is your aesthetic and what is you're just unknowingly doing, you know what I mean? I personally would have put in some highlights around here. I would have gone a little bit darker with the shadows, stuff like that. But that's all personal preference up until this point. If your goal is to just sell art, personally, you'd be able to sell it just like this, honey. I feel like this new art style you have going on is really interesting because you're actually going in more into, like, body anatomy and stuff, and this is giving me an opportunity to actually critique it a little more. So if you want me to judge your new art style, and I'm going to try to be nice about all of this because, you know, this is new to you, this is something you're learning, but I'm going to try and help you out here a little bit because you asked for it. Just remember that you asked for it. So your character feels like it's a little bit leaning to the side a little bit, and I feel like that might not be in the way you meant. I feel like the head right here, this feels like a little bit flat. Personally, I would have done just, like, made the head a little bit wider. I feel like the angle on the face is just a little bit off. I feel like the eye would have been more like this. It's like perspective. I feel like you learn that more with just practice, though. It's not really something I can critique on a single drawing. It's just something that you learn over time. For focusing in on anatomy, the main thing I would notice here is just the arm is a little long. So typically on a normal human body, and this isn't necessarily a normal human body because it's chibi, but if we had, like, a normal human body here, right? So we're going to imagine this is the chest, right? Here's your chest. here's your waist. This isn't going to be perfect, but here's your chest, here's your waist. If you had an arm, your wrist tends to stop at your hips, and then the hand comes about halfway down your thigh. So if we had a leg here with a thigh, and then, you know, we have your knee and everything else, the fingertips end, the very end of your fingertips would end halfway down your thigh. So if we're using that knowledge, I would say that the arm is just a little bit long. I know it's kind of like popping out, so like this perspective might be a little weird, but I feel like it should have ended somewhere around here rather than this much farther out, if that makes any sense. I would have made the arm just a little bit shorter. Overall, I kind of like your chibi style. I think if you keep working on this, I feel like you could probably sell these for quite a bit of money, honey. Anyways, guys, I think that's all for now. I did have some other people who submitted artworks in this chat, but that was before I announced I was making a video, so I don't really want to show their artworks without permission, you know. I'm not sure who actually wants their art to be reviewed publicly, but on that happy note, I thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all like and subscribe and comment down below if you have any video requests, and I try to read as many comments as possible, but I thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye! 9cat away.